Welcome, this is Alan from SmartGRANDAD, and in this video we aim to explain how you can save at least 50% or more on your EV charging costs. At the moment, compared with fossil fuel vehicle owners, those who've got electric vehicles are paying over the top for their electricity. So what is the variance in the cost of fossil compared with electric fuel prices, and what does it mean? Well, across Europe, the variance between the cheapest and the most expensive fuel when it comes to petrol is around about 25%. Whereas with EV rapid charger sites, when you're paying for electricity on the go, depending on the charging network and the site, you can be paying up to 200% of the cost. Or you could, looking at another way, you can say 50%. So who are the major EV charging providers in Europe? Well, the top providers of the pay-as-you-go, these are the chargers that you find on the motorway or in the large towns. The number one by far is Ionity. They've been formed by a group of EV manufacturers in Europe, and they provide ultra rapid chargers that are extremely reliable. Number two is Tesla. And of course, that was formed when Tesla was the only real car producer, EV car producer, and so they actually had to set up their own charging network. And then there are other providers, usually small, focusing in one country. A couple of exceptions are Shell Recharge and BP Pulse, who often form local deals. Ionity chooses to reward its customers by having this tiered pricing subscriber strategy. So basically, if you don't subscribe to them, you can obviously charge, and that will cost you €0.75 for each kilowatt. Whereas if you take their motion or their power subscriptions, different monthly costs, then that will cost you only 0.39 for a kilowatt, which is almost half the cost. And as they say, it basically repays after the second charging session that you have each month. Tesla, well, they're the gold standard, but of off-peak savings. So if you can charge off-peak, then Tesla uses aggressive dynamic pricing. So during the day, the price will vary, and at night, it will be at its lowest, maybe something like €0.30 for Tesla owners, or €0.40 for non-Tesla owners. But at peak rates, you can be paying 0.50 or 0.7 or even higher. So it just depends when you're actually charging, when and where at Tesla. So how can you ensure that you get the lowest costs? Well, it's quite simple. You need to charge at home wherever possible, because that's where you can get an EV tariff, which will be usually lower overnight, which is usually when you can charge, and you can choose a pay-as-you-go provider subscription or use off-peak rates when you're on longer journeys. And how much can you save? Well, as an example, if let's say you have a vehicle where you're doing 20,000 miles a year and you get about 3 kilowatts per mile, and you charge 25% of the time at rapid chargers, so not at home, there your pay-as-you-go costs can vary greatly. So an example in UK can be Instavolt, still costing nearly £6,000 for those 5,000 miles. For Tesla, it'll only cost you $1,886, but of course that's if you can do it at the cheap periods at night, etc. And with Ionity, you're somewhere in the middle, 2,900 for those 5,000 miles. So your potential savings are actually 3,000 to 4,000 per year. Another example was a trip that I made from Sweden to Spain, 3,700 kilometers, just using pay-as-you-go. There I used the Ionity Power subscription, at 0.39 euro per kilowatt. So that cost me 343 euros for the journey. But I've used the IoT Direct, i.e. no subscription, it would have cost me 671 euros. So the actual savings for that journey were 328, and obviously as I have a return journey, overall I can double that and save 656 euros. So now you know how to make significant savings on your pay-as-you-go EV charging costs. Thanks for watching, please share, and hope to see you again in the next Smart Grandad Explains video.